So today I'm just going to do a bit of a video on how you do your calibration for a knapsack sprayer. For the Pa6 qualification, which is using a knapsack sprayer, you need to be able to calibrate your machine, so you're putting out the right amount of pesticide, right amount of water. So there's three important bits of information that we need to work out. So one of them's flow rate, second one's swath, or how wide we're going to spray, and then third one's your walking speed. Swath is easy. So with the nozzle that I've got here, it's a deflector nozzle, green deflector nozzle, that's designed to spray at 1 metre if you're 50 centimetres above the ground. So that's always constant. So we always have that constant as 1 metre. But the other two bits of information are variable. So for flow rate, how I measure flow rate is I'm going to make sure I'm up to pressure, and then I'm going to spray into a jug for a minute, and I'm going to measure how much water comes out in that minute. Looking for a round number. I sprayed into the jug for a minute, and now I need to measure how much is in the jug. Flat surface is handy for this. So when it stops jiggling about, I reckon it's looking like I'm going to say we've got 1.5 litres in there. So that's our flow rate. That's the first bit of data we need. The next bit I need to work out is our walking speed. So I've got an area measured out. It's 50 metres long, and so I'm going to walk there and back to make 100 metres and time how long it takes me to do that. This is where I usually do walking speed. I've measured it out before, so I've got two marks that mark out my 50 metres. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk up 50 metres there, 50 metres back, and that's going to give me how long it takes me to do my 100 metres. Replicating spraying conditions, so I'm going to be pumping and spraying as I go, just so it is realistic speed. So it took me 1 minute and 12 seconds to do that. So now we've got the numbers that we need, we can start working out our calculations. Right, so I've worked out my data, the 2 bits of information that I need. So now I'm going to start working out my calibration using this sheet. So there's quite a few bits of information at the top that I need to fill out. Some of that information I'm going to get from my product label. So this Roundup Proactive, this is the product that I usually use for simulating pesticide spraying. So rarely use this product, but we just use the numbers that are in this booklet, in the product label, to work out what quantities we need. It just wants my operator name, so that's easy enough. And today's date, what are we on, the 6th? It wants our equipment used, so we're using a CP15. It wants the nozzle type and colour, so we said that previously, that's a green deflector. What product are we using? We're using Roundup Proactive. Pressure setting, so these knapsack sprayers, you've got an option between low and high. We like low pressure because we get bigger droplets. We like bigger droplets because they're not affected by spray drift so much. So we're going to go with that low pressure setting, which is going to create, through the spray quality, it's going to be medium to coarse. And then an important figure that we need is the water volume range, and we need to go in the product label to find that one out. So in our product label, I usually go for this natural surfaces not intended to bear vegetation. For that we've got 2 bits of information. So it says our application rate if we want to kill all weeds that are in the situation that we're working in. So we're going to go 5 litres a hectare of the product, and then the water volume range which we need for doing our calibration, it needs to be between 80 and 250 litres a hectare. So I can take that figure and I can put it on my calibration sheet. So then now I'm going to fill out my flow rate. So it took over a minute spraying into a jug. I had 1.5 litres. Swath, as I said before, we always, with this nozzle that we use in green deflector, it's always going to be 1 metre wide as long as we're spraying 50 centimetres above the ground. And then our walking speed. So it took me 1 minute and 12 to walk 100 metres. Now you need to make sure you convert that into total seconds. Now that might sound simple, and it is when you know what you're doing, but we're not just going to say 112 over here. There's 60 seconds in a minute, so that means it's going to be 72 seconds. And then we're going to move that down, and we need to do 360 divided by 72 to work out our speed in kilometres per hour. So 360 divided by 72, perfect. 5 kilometres an hour, nice round number. So now I've got the 3 figures that I need. I've got A, B and C here. I can move them down into this calculation to work out my specific water volume. So I'm going to put A in here, B in there, and my speed in there. Now I'm going to do this calculation here to work out my volume. And I've got a figure of 180. Now this is where this water volume range comes into play. So we want to make sure that our water volume is in that range of 80 to 250. And it is, so I'm happy with that, so I'm good to move on. If it wasn't in that range, then we need to change something. We either need to change our flow rate or we need to change our walking speed. But yes, this water volume needs to come in that range. Next, we need to calculate the area that we're spraying. So I usually go for an area that's 50 metres long, and let's say that it's 4 metres wide. It's a nice easy calculation, 50 times 4, 200. So 200 metres squared is the area we're using. And then now we've got colour coded boxes, so we're going to move those figures down into the next calculation. So 180 from box 1 goes into box 1. Box 2 we've got 200. So 180 divided by 10,000 times by 200 times by 1,000 equals 3,600. So that's the total liquid is going to be in our knapsack to spray that area. Next we're going to work out how much pesticide we're going to be using on the area. So again, from our product label, I said we're going at 5 litres a hectare, so I can put that onto my calibration sheet. Bring this 200 down again. So 5 divided by 10,000 times 200 times 1,000 gives 100 millilitres. So we're going to use 100 millilitres of Roundup Proactive to spray that 200 metre squared area. To work out how much water is going to be in that mix, all we need to do is take our total volume, bring that down here, minus our total pesticide, and again I'm lucky that that's an easy calculation. So that's going to equal 3,500 millilitres of water. And these are going to be the two figures that I'm going to use to spray that area. One other calculation that you can do that might be useful is finding out how much pesticide you'd need for a full tank. So my tank size is 15 litres, so there's two clues on that. It's called a CP15, so that gives you a clue. Also the measurements on the side say that it holds 15 litres. My application rate again is 5 litres. My water volume is 180. So let's do that calculation. So 15 times 5 divided by 180 times by 1,000. 416. You can round that up to 417. So if I was using a full tank, I'd need 417 millilitres of product. So that's how you calibrate how much pesticide you'd use on a certain area. It can seem daunting when you do them calculations. Obviously I do it a lot, so I'm used to the figures, and it's the same for any person. I think once you get used to doing it, you'll find it easier and easier the more you do it. And the calculations, it's all set out on a sheet for you. You just follow the sheet and you should come up with the right numbers. One thing to be careful of is just when you're using 10,000s and thousands, just make sure you're putting the right amount of zeros in. And once you've done a calibration sheet and you're happy with the figures, the next time you do one, you can compare it to your last one, and hopefully your figures are in a similar position. And if they're not, maybe you want to do your calculations again. So it's all about just checking your numbers, checking they seem right, and hopefully you'll have the right numbers.